Howdy, fella nerf herders. I like me a good old space western. I don't like having them spoiled by Bantha Poodoo yapping too much. The following is just two Mando-loving scoundrels talking about the show. So if you don't want spoilers, then turn your tauntaun now and head back to base. So long, and happy listening.
Welcome back, Mando!
I am IG-11. I am this child's nurse droid, and require that you remind him to me immediately.
He said you were the best in the parsec.
I have spoken. This is the way.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to This Is the Way, a little Ming sideshow. It's the sideshow. We decided, hey, we really, really like what's going on here, and we want to drag you along with us and talk about The Mandalorian. And we hope that you checked out last episode, which was the very first one that we did, which was loosely titled Episode 9. Even though it's the first one for us, but we're trying to go with the order of the actual show. So if you didn't listen to before, we're going to try to go through Season 2 collectively, and then when Season 2 ends, we'll go back and do a recap on Season 1. But this is, it's it's everything that us Star Wars fans have dreamed of. And so far, none of these episodes have disappointed. Ain't that right, Mr. Danny Bennett?
That's right. I've enjoyed every episode of The Mandalorian that's come out. I think it benefits from having a limited scope. You know, you're watching one guy and his trials and tribulations through the galaxy. There's no overarching plot. You know, the end of the universe isn't at hand. And so they're able to make some really tight stories and some really good action and really fun characters in the Star Wars universe that we've all come to know and love.
Yeah.
Or know and hate. You know, like some people know and hate it, but hate just takes too much energy, man.
That's right.
By the way, this episode will be episode 12, so that we just make sure it's as confusing as possible. There are 10 episodes. We're going to call it 12 because it's kind of like our second one here. And no, we're not going to do that.
No, it's actually, if you go by the moniker that they put up for the episodes, this is actually called Chapter 10. We'll call it Episode 10.
Oh, yeah.
And it's titled The Passenger. And it really just kind of picks up where the last episode left off, where he's kicked some dragon butt. He's got the little baby with him, and he's heading out of town, or wherever he was, not out of town, out in the middle of nowhere. But he's kind of making his way back to either Mos Eisley or somewhere, wherever he's kind of heading to.
Yeah, I like it because they don't give you any explanation. It just cuts right in. And, you know, as soon as you see him going across the desert on a swoop bike and you see there are two suns in the background, you're like, yeah, I know exactly where this is.
That's right.
It allows you to figure it out. It doesn't spoon feed you, which I really like.
And it's kind of like a Lawrence of Arabia kind of shot too, right? Because you got this just huge piece of scenery and him off in the distance coming towards you. And while he's scooting along, we see a group of loose cannon bounty hunters. They don't look like they're legit bounty hunters. They look like a ragtag kind of team to me.
Yeah, definitely. They've got the little guy that obviously is the only one who they've left as kind of a safety back there, and he's not up to the task.
He's like almost like a Jawa's like half cousin or something. It's I've never seen this character before.
I want to say I think there's some extended universe stuff. I think he's an Alina or an Alima, and they have like a little like reptilian head under that hood, but he was wearing some kind of face mask. Yeah, I don't know exactly what he is, but I'm okay with that.
But they set up a tripwire to knock Mando off of his speeder, which I'm trying to figure out, how do you determine the height of that, right? How do we set up a tripwire for something that's floating in the air?
Yeah, I mean, I guess with it, with it having like a nose and like a motor, you just put it somewhere in the middle, and it's either going to catch the dude off the bike or it's going to catch the bike somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, if he had known it was there, he could have just gone up, because from Return of the Jedi, we know they can just go into the stratosphere with those things if they want to, just kick it up there.
Yeah. So it's just one of those things, but it makes for a good battle scene here, because his bike gets totally destroyed. He's flipping out on the ground. You see the little baby go rolling across, and they send the little half-wit to go try to catch the baby while they try to handle Mando, and that didn't work out too well for him. You get some pretty decent action here. The gun that's got the grappling hook that they kind of shoot at him, and then he pulls the gun to him and hits both the guys in the heads.
Yeah,
That's
it was
pretty
good stuff.
cool.
Well, and when the bike gets tripped, you're like, oh, what's going to happen now? He spins around in that jetpack. He uses that to stop from flying off and lands on his feet. That's some cool stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of jetpack, that's kind of what this ends up coming down to, because the little Jawa looking dude now has the baby with a knife pointed to its throat.
Knife to his throat.
And Mando's like, hey, I'll give you anything you want. Hey, that wreckage that just happened, there's some good, valuable parts in there. Just don't hurt the kid, right? And he ends up wanting Mando's jetpack. So Mando takes it off, and somehow it stands up straight on the ground. Yeah,
I love that. Like it's kind of like one of those gravity-defying toys, that you set somewhere and it shouldn't balance, but it does. He just sets it down on its little thrusters, and it just stands there. Yeah, and it must be super light too, because dude just grabs it and runs.
Just takes off running, yeah. And of course, while he's running, I even said to Becky, I was like, he can control that with his controllers, and sure enough, he picks up the little baby and he's holding it, and the little dude's running off with the jetpack, and he hits the buttons and it just shoots the guy up in the sky. And he comes crashing down on the ground, and I love the look on the baby's face, man. He's just like, whoa!
Well, and I think the comedy that they interlace in the show is on point. They do a good job of they give you some intensity and then some drama, and then they top it off with a punchline. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I just expect to hear the Keanu Reeves voice. The whoa. So now Mando's on foot. He's picked up the pieces of the armor of Boba Fett and everything that got thrown everywhere, and he's carrying it all, and makes his way into Mos Eisley. I'm gathering that's where we're at, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's wherever the mechanic is.
Motto, yeah.
So it goes back to wherever he went in the first season for all that.
It looks just like when they go into the cantina. It looks just like the original cantina.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. But while he goes in there, he's looking for Motto, and she's in there gambling against a giant ant.
Yeah. Let me tell you that one of my favorite things about this episode is the name of that giant ant is Dr. Mandible.
Dr. Mandible. And then she also calls him Zorak. Did you notice that?
No. She did?
Yeah. She goes, calm down, Zorak. And I was like, whoa, hey, Space Ghost.
So his name is Dr. Zorak Mandible? Oh, that's incredible. I wonder what his doctorate is in.
Exactly. And I thought the same thing. I was like, why would he be Dr. Mandible? He's a giant ant.
Well, his doctorate is obviously not in Sabak, because he's there playing Motto.
Yeah.
And he has a good feeling about his hand, but she says, well, he says he knows where some Mandalorians are, because the way this plot goes, everybody has a lead. You just have to walk into the next scene. And she says, if you cover his bet, then he'll tell you. And so, Mando being the shill that he is, like, yeah, okay, I'll cover his bet. And then he loses, like, immediately. She throws out the idiot's array, right? Which is another thing that's kind of come into the universe before, like the whole...
Right.
There's a whole sabacc that's like poker, and then there's the one they invented for Solo, which is just a math game, and it's not super fun, but it's cool they did it. But yeah, she's, idiot's array, you lose! And...
But yeah, he has some information because he's got a contact, and said that this contact would be at the hangar when they get back there, and they'll get more information from there. Which is kind of confusing to me because it's almost like Motto knows this person already.
Yeah.
Because she ends up knowing all the information versus what she got from the ant. So it's kind of a weird situation there. But anyways, it doesn't really matter. She says when she sees him walk up and he's got Boba Fett's armor, and she's like, oh, so you found the Mandalorian and you killed him?
Yeah.
He's like, no, I got this in trade. Well, what did you have to do? I killed a dragon. She's like, oh, is that all?
Then she's like, yeah, I hope you brought some meat back from that crate dragon.
Yeah.
And he did. He had a big old hunk of meat at the end of the last episode, and walking across the desert with the stuff off the swoop bike, he went ahead and brought that big old hunk of meat too. I guess he thought, worst comes to worst, him and the baby can chow down on that, I suppose.
Right. And next scene is where they're actually cooking it off of an engine from a ship. Little robot sitting there, turning it over so it gets evenly cooked, and yeah.
Yeah, and the little robot was from New Hope. It looks like a Texas Instruments robot from 1978. It's got a little. It looks like Robbie the Robot from Nintendo, kind of.
It's got like a Viewmaster for a head.
Yeah.
But yeah, while that's going on, this is where Motto says, hey, this contact that she has more info on another Mando location, and the only price for this information is they need passage into another system.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. So it's kind of a flashback from A New Hope of no cargo, just the two of us and no questions asked, right? It's that kind of setup. Oh, yeah, they just need passage, and you can't use hyperdrive. And he's like, well, that's a deal breaker. I mean, I'm wanted. I mean, that's how I'm getting around everywhere.
Yeah, you can't just cruise through every little town at 35 miles an hour.
Like he's been doing.
I guess it would be like if you were wanted in a state, and they were like, but you can't use the interstate to drive to the next state. You got to use highways. So you're going to, have the chance to run into way more cops and people that might recognize you and all that stuff. Because he's got to drive, sublight this whole way to this other system. And, that ends up working out exactly how you'd expect it to. Yeah.
So it ends up being this lady who is basically, they've had a lot of different names I've seen brought up, like Frog Lady and other stuff. But to me, she's a salamander, man. That's what she looks like.
Well, she looks kind of like a salamander. She's jumping at one point, and it looks kind of like like a skit from Sesame Street or something. But I really like her. I think that she's really cool looking, and her little frog language, because she can't speak common. I guess her throat doesn't let her. She understands it, but she can't speak it.
Right.
So she's just croaking and squeaking, and she's definitely kind of a salamander character, and she looks dead up like a Jim Henson workshop creation.
Totally agree.
She's got a cool froggy head, and she's wearing like sackcloth kind of clothing, like Ewoks, to hide the joints under there. Yep. She's great, though. I really like.
Yeah, I think so too. And the cargo is herself, and she's got a container full of her eggs.
Yeah.
And the story is she's got to go meet her husband or mate or whatever this situation is and fertilize the eggs to procreate. And why they're separated, we don't really know, but that's the story. Then we're sticking to it.
Yeah, I guess he went out looking for a place, and when he found a place, he sent for her. I think we've heard that story before.
Yeah, pretty much. And but like you said, the language barrier is a big problem here. But the interesting thing is this container of eggs is, it's a good, like, milk jug size container. And there's probably 30 or 4 of these eggs floating around in it. And the whole thing with the baby eating the eggs, I mean, he's after these things the whole time.
Yeah, as soon as he sees them, he's like, oh. Yeah. And, I was telling we watched it a second time last night, and I was talking with my family. I was like, this is one of the things I like, because there's very little you can do with the child to kind of change people's opinion about him. But one of the things is they have him eat everything, right? And the fact that you kind of get attached to the idea of these eggs, and you understand how much they mean to, the frog lady.
Yeah.
And he's still eating them. It kind of gives you a little depth on the character. Like, he doesn't care about that or even understand maybe. But it makes you conflicted.
Toddler, so it's just like, you make sure everything's picked up out of your floral when you've got a baby that's crawling around, because they'll pick up everything they can find and put it in their mouth. And, so you're kind of running with that. But yeah, man, he is all about these eggs. Even walks up to the container and uses the force to pull them closer to him through the glass. Yeah. So when he opens the container, he can just reach in and get them.
And it's a great running gag through the whole episode.
Yeah, man. And he's just sucking them down. He'll grab one, just go, and it's gone.
And she's all like, "This is my last brood, and I will never." And you're like, "Man, that baby's been eating these things this whole episode." I kind of halfway through the episode, I'm like, "He's gonna eat them all," and then they're gonna get there. They're gonna look at the thing, and they're gonna all be gone, and it's gonna be like, "Oops, sorry."
And they go, "What?" Yeah, exactly. Look at him. He'll go, "Sorry."
Wah, wah.
So, anyways, the Mando catches him eating the eggs, and he takes him and says, "All right, it's nap time." And they lay down and go to sleep, and the lady salamander is like in the cockpit, and she's in a chair in there, and she's relaxing. And then all of a sudden, these sirens start going off. So Mandalorian wakes up, and there's 2 X-Wing fighters that are on each side of his ship. And they're communicating to him saying, hey, in this sector, you have to have a beacon on your ship, and you don't have one. So they're pulling him over for like a broken tail light.
Yeah, basically. And he tries to say, well, I have an antique. It doesn't have a beacon. I don't need seatbelts because I'm grandfathered in, and they're like, well, that used to be the way it is. But now there's the New Republic, the Empire. If you remember, this takes place, kind of right after Return of the Jedi. So the Empire's just been eliminated, and now New Republic's moving in, and they've got their previously rebel pilots out there at X-Wings, just kind of patrolling the galaxy, making sure there aren't any Imperial remnants or vagabonds or any of that. And it's a good back and forth. If you've ever been pulled over for something, you feel Mando exactly.
Yeah. And then they ask him for a scan for more info on his ship and himself. And he says, oh, yeah, I don't have that information with me right now. Oh, that's okay. We'll wait. So they're playing that whole mantra there of all that. And then all of a sudden they say, hey, switch over to channel 2. So the officers flip to another channel so they can talk to each other. And then they're ready to haul this guy in. So they've looked at his records and they're seeing some stuff they don't like. And then he just floors it, man, and takes off. And this chase scene, man, is fantastic.
It's good stuff. I mean, to the point, they switch to a different channel, and then like 5 seconds later, the S-foils go into attack position, like at the beginning of the first movie.
Yeah.
And he's like, I know what that means. So
yeah.
He's basically gearing up, and then he just drops to this planet below and starts, like you said, this chase, which is awesome.
It's going through these clouds, and I don't know, man. I was like, this is done very, very well. So I was impressed by the whole chase scene, to the point to where he just basically shuts his engines off and he just does a free fall through the clouds down to this planet to try to get away from them. But they see him, but they keep chasing after him, and he ends up doing like a crash landing on this planet, and the ship comes to a stop. But apparently it's on some thin ice or whatever, and it breaks through, and then he falls down into this, I don't know, just like a big cavern or something.
Yeah. Oh, and it looks bad. I mean, the ship looks beat up.
And this is an ice planet too, so your first thoughts are, is this Hoth? But they don't mention that it's Hoth, so I haven't really figured out what planet we're really on.
Yeah. I was kind of expecting, later in the episode there'd be a Wampa because they were in that ice cave, and I was like, yeah, this looks familiar, but
right,
but no,
it's not. So we don't know. I'm sure somebody out there knows what planet it is, but there's this whole. Of course, he gets out and looks at the damage of the ship. And there's a big hole in the side of the ship, and he's like, "Oh man!" And stuff is scattered everywhere, and he can't find the baby. And then he pulls back a blanket. So even through all this traumatic stuff, here's the baby under a blanket, reaching his hand down in that container again, and just pulling out the eggs.
Yep. He's not going to stop until he's eaten them all, and he takes every opportunity to go ahead and peel off a few more.
So he ends up stopping him, and then they decide to rest. And this is where the communication is a problem again, because she's pointing out something about the eggs and trying to tell Mando, and he's like, yeah, I don't know what you're saying at all. And they kind of drift off asleep, and then all of a sudden, Mando gets woke up by a voice. And this salamander lady has tapped into the Zero droid that was in the earlier episodes and is using his vocoder, or whatever she calls it at the time, to be able to speak to him. And she starts giving him the lowdown of, hey, I'm the last of our kind. This is this is the end of pretty much our civilization, and this has to happen, or that's the end. And you're supposed to be a man of your words. I heard Mandalorians are, their word is good, and you're backing off on the deal. And so she kind of gives him a hard time about it. And he even says, the deal is off.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure that those are the last frog eggs in existence. I think she was more like, these are the last ones I can lay, and I want to have children with my mate. Which,
maybe so.
Which, I mean, it's still serious. It's like, this is my only opportunity to have children, and I didn't take it as this is the end of the frog people, but it might have been. Either way, she's got a point. He told her that he'd get her a place, but the Razor Crest is all effed up. So what are you going to do? It's really beat up. I'm not sure what he was planning. Like, was he just going to wait for the fuzz to disappear, and then he was going to I don't know either. Put up a beacon to have somebody find him or something? Because he was just going to go to sleep.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of stuck in a situation. There's a big hole in your ship, and your fluids are leaking out everywhere, but you're just going to say, I'm just going to take a nap. So, it's hard to know. Maybe he was just trying to, just regain his thoughts or whatever. And, So, hey, we do have to, talk about the voice of the droid, though, right?
Yeah. It's Richard Idolade.
Yeah.
Iolati. I saw a show with him in it, and he pronounced his name. Then he said, "At least that's what they tell me my name sounds like." So he kind of knows that his last name is a mouthful. But yeah, I loved hearing his voice again. Anybody who watches the IT crowd, it's Moss from the IT crowd. I mean, the guy's hilarious. But
we just covered the Garth Marenghi stuff, and he's the director on that. So it's an unmistakable voice. You can't Dean Lerner. I mean,
Dean Lerner.
You can't. Oh, but yeah, I love when all those things pop in and you just hear the voice. You're like, hey, that's Dean Lerner.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like the droid Dean Lerner is it was one of the things I liked out of the first season too. And I guess I'd forgotten that the Mandalorian had offed him. Like, I remembered that he wasn't on the prison ship with them, but like I didn't remember that he had gotten destroyed there in the ship. There's a flashback at the beginning of the episode to remind you, but I forgot about that.
Well, how about the fact of, hey, even though I just killed him, I'm just going to keep him on my ship.
Right. Stick him on a shelf.
So anyways, Mando decides to go outside after all that conversation, start doing repairs on the ship. And he sees the little tyke come out, and he's like, hey, what are you doing out here? And he goes and looks, and he's trying to let the Mando know that the lady has taken off. And he uses some like heat sensory to kind of see, and there's a path that she went into a cave. And they go in there, and she's basically just in this hot spring, She's got all of her eggs floating around in there with her, and she's just, enjoying the heat because, she's a cold-blooded reptile. So she's needing this, and it's feeling good. So I just wondered, did she sense that spring is there? Or
there's a lot of stuff in this episode, like you said, with the whole transport passenger, and he knows somebody, she knows something. Him going to sleep instead of doing the thing. It's kind of like they were forcing the drama into it. And this is another one. It's like, why would she go away? Well, I don't know. Like you said, maybe she sensed it. Maybe she has a heat sensing, thing, and it was just too cold. And she also has her eggs in the
just floating around in
springs. So maybe there was some necessity for survival, but it's not really explained, and it's not so egregious that I'm worried about trying to explain it.
No, well, because it's all to lead up what happens next, where Mando and the baby show up, and then the baby starts seeing these little eggs that are everywhere in this cavern.
And I really thought it was going to be a crossover.
Yeah,
They really look like xenomorph eggs.
Sure did, and even the creature inside of it is pretty dang close when you first see the little ones, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so, which he eats one, too.
Yeah, the baby walks up and the egg opens up. He just reaches in there and grabs it and starts eating it. And it ends up being these space ice spiders.
Yeah. They're and they have these like mouths on the bottom of their abdomens. They're on little trunks. That their mouth looks kind of like a starfish or something. It's got like a sarlacc. It looks like a mini sarlacc on the end. It's a bunch of teeth. And they're really nightmarish.
Yeah, and these are all, when they first start off, it's small ones, and then some knee-high versions start popping up out of nowhere. Then some bigger ones that are human-sized start popping up, and then you get a couple of big daddies coming out that are just as big as the spaceship that the Mandalorian's driving.
Yeah, and so it's one of those get your eggs, get out of the water. It's time to go.
Yeah. So, man, this whole scene is just nonstop action, man. It's funny, we talked about Alien, but this feels like Aliens, the second movie, with the nonstop chasing, firefighting. These things are aggressive like the xenomorphs. I mean, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's and like I said, it's a nightmarish sequence. I mean, there are just millions of these things. And they're in this big hive. There's this unending ice cavern. And, it's kind of cool. Like I said, you get to see the frog person. She's running, and you kind of can't believe that they would keep ahead of all these things. And then you see she's leaping, like a frog.
It's funny because when they first take off running, I told Becky, I said, she ain't going to make it. He's going to have to deliver these eggs, and she's going to be a goner. Then all of a sudden, she gets down on all fours and starts hopping. I'm like, never mind.
Yeah.
But they make it all the way back to the ship, and I mean, it is nonstop firefighting. They get inside the ship, and there's just so many of them, they can't stop them. I mean, they even get into the cockpit, and the door's trying to close, and some are getting through while he's trying to burn the ones out and get the door shut. It is nail-biting stuff, man, and these things are horrific, man. These things are really scary looking.
Yeah, they never really get a hit off. They never bite anybody or anything, but I mean, there are just so many of them that the terror is real.
Yeah. And the one gets in the cockpit and gets on top of the baby's head, and I thought, oh, no, he's going to get bit, and he'll have some kind of poisonous thing happen to him, a la Lord of the Rings, right?
Right. Space ice spider venom, yeah.
Right. But luckily enough, the salamander lady has a firearm of her own, and she shoots the one off the baby's head, and
she's
saves
a crack
his life.
shot, too. Yeah,
it's a really good shot. And, of course, you're probably thinking, well, if she knew that he ate the egg, she probably just would have shot him, too, so... Yeah. And then while the battle's still going on, you get the huge one that comes over the top of the ship, and they're trying to break through the glass, and he's trying to get through to them in the cockpit. Then all of a sudden you hear some more firepower that's happening outside the ship. And lo and behold, our two X-Wing fighters show up, and they're blasting all the spiders. And this brings up that question again of how would they even know that this is going on? But I don't know that it really matters.
I guess they've been tracking the area, and they finally honed in on where the ship was. I mean, because they said they were going to spread out when he thought he had lost them. And maybe they just had nothing better to do.
Yeah.
Because really, why would you spend so much time on this one ship that you aren't even sure?
Yeah.
But
it doesn't matter because they save the day. I mean, so your X-Wing fighters save the day. Mando comes out and they're like, hey, we were looking at your record and we should haul you in because you're responsible for this. But we also saw where you brought in, these other criminals and stuff. So it's like, one thing kind of knocks out, one good thing you've done knocks out a bad thing that you've done, and they just kind of let him go with a warning.
Yeah, it's all from the jailbreak episode. It's
right.
Like you put those 3 guys in the jail cell, so you're not all bad. And then also we see where you tried to save the life of the guy who was manning the ship. That's all on video, so you're not that bad a guy, but you need to stop being as bad a guy as you are. Then basically.
So, they just kind of... Here's the strange thing is they shoot the spiders just so they can come tell him, hey, we would haul you in, but we're not going to, and we'll see you later. And they just leave him there. And I'm like, you can't help with any repairs or anything?
I thought that too. I mean, he was kind of a dick to him. He was like, hey, well, how about I forego the bounty on those 3 that I got for you, and you help me fix my ship. And they're like, whatever, bye.
They just take off. So he goes outside the ship and does some more repairs, gets back inside, fires it up, works his way back out of the hole that they fell down into, and they're on their way forward to finish out this quest of delivering her to where she needs to go and him finding the other Mandalorians. So the story continues.
Right, and just to give you one more thing before it's all over, the child looks back at the frog lady, and the frog lady looks at the child, and they look back, and you think for a minute she's on to him eating the eggs or whatever, and then like just so you can see, the camera from the front, he slurps up one more egg. Just in case you thought maybe he was like, oh, she saved my life, I'm not going to eat her eggs anymore, making that connection. Nope, still eating the eggs. If they're there, I'm going to eat them.
So yeah, man, I thought this one was a lot of fun. It moved at a really good pace.
Yeah.
The spider stuff is, to me, just great action, events that happen all the way through that. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I agreed. I think pacing is one of the things that The Mandalorian really has done well. The episodes all move, and I think it's what we've been talking about. When you start to dissect the plot, sometimes it's either too convenient or it doesn't come quite together. But that's okay, because you're not there to dissect the plot. You're there to watch the action and to see interesting characters and to be along for the adventure. And that's probably why we like it so much.
That's Star Wars, right? Because if you do sit and start thinking about all this stuff, you're going to find plot holes and everything. But you got to take the words of Obi-Wan and just move along.
Move along. Yep.
Just move along. So, but yeah, man, that's episode or chapter 10 for you folks.
Yeah, chapter 10, The Passenger, and I gotta say, I really enjoyed it, and it's a great filler episode. It didn't move any major plot along at all, but you have to have these filler episodes because they build into the next, into the next story somehow.
Well, and it's probably that. All right, here's your setting up your layout for your episodes. All right, first episode, season 2, the dragon. Second episode, giant spiders. Episode 3, who knows? It'll be some other creature of some sort. I mean, or you start bringing in another bad guy, or so you can tell they got these high points that maybe doesn't really tie into the plot so much, but it's a way to keep the story moving on, and you give them some sort of adversary to deal with.
Yeah,
and
we still
I don't know,
haven't
man. I
seen
think it's
Moff Gideon from the
yeah.
So there's still plenty to unpack. But again, sure. I like the fact that you have these one-offs. They're great.
Yeah. Yep, I agree, man. All right, that's all I got. You got anything else?
Nope. We went through the episode, and I highly recommend it, just like all these.
Yeah. So there you go, folks. Keep letting us know what you think about this. If you're on board, if there's things we're missing, share your comments, man, because that's what this show's all about. There's so many Star Wars fans out there that I'm sure everybody has comments that they want to make on this stuff. So feel free to share, man. We're all ears.
And you can share I know I've been doing it in the last few days. You can share your favorite Mandalorian pictures. I love Boba Fett stuff. I always have. He's always intrigued me as a character, and even though he's a minimal character, he's always just been cool. So you got pictures of helmets or costumes or artwork. Just drop it in there, man. It's good.
Wallet. If you got a Boba Fett wallet.
I do. It's beat to hell though. You can't tell what it is anymore. I need to get a new one.
Yeah.
So if you
right,
want to buy me a wallet, just kidding.
Yeah. If you want to go out there and buy us some Mandalorian garb, I wear a large shirt.
There you go. If you just want to buy me stuff, any of it.
Yeah.
I'll just DM me, man.
Right. All right, folks, we're going to cut out of here. We will see you next time. Adios.